right. Listen,
And
go
yeah,
ahead.
so
I started recording, so we can just go ahead and just talk, and then I'll introduce and I'll bring everything in as we go. So go, keep going. It's all right.
yeah, that's it. So I was like trying to decide, okay, do you want to come in or out? Like, what are you doing? What are we doing here? And his name is Namaste.
Namaste. Okay.
And there's a whole journey of this feline, this spiritual being in the form of a cat, which you know are some of the oldest spiritual talismans, right?
Yeah.
In our lexicon. So
Mhm.
yeah, but anyway, how are you? How you doing,
I'm
Yogi
doing
Gee in the
great.
building? Excellent.
Yes, we are here now since we are starting. Let me start it off the right way. 2.5 seconds. We can do it like this. So let me see here if I can play around with this because just to let everybody know, I am Yogi G and you are at the abundant mind of Yogi G. And my special lovely guest here today is Sister Letitia Lovely. So let's show her some love today and let's let her walk us through her hero's journey and what brought her to this day in her life. So as you see, we started off talking about her cat Namaste. And the whole goal of this podcast really is just to kind of conversate as two people on the same journey or similar journeys, I should say, would do. So it's we can call this an interview if you like, but I'm just going to call it a conversation with a good friend. How about that? We'll just do it like that.
How
so,
about that? How about that?
how about that? I had a whole plan, and we actually were on the phone not too long, you know, before we started this conversation. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that." But you know what? I'm gonna let this organically flow in a manner that it flows. So, within this podcast, we are going to give flowers to our entrepreneurs out here, our heroes that are on their journeys and they understand where their purpose lies and they're chasing that purpose. And then
Hmm.
they're bringing that purpose back so the rest of us can see them glow in their greatness. So, obviously, well, I say obviously because I'm speaking to a friend here. I've known this young lady for many, many years now. We have we met organically through a group, a village, I like to call us, the Urban X90 group. You know, which we formulated actually from the Urban X podcast, the number one father and son show that was reigning for 10 years, and we were blessed to sit and really watch greatness work. You know, the Bowser family, and I will give special flowers out to the Bowser family because
Respect.
yes, they are the more or less the caveat of why I'm even doing what I'm doing. I'm a branch off of the tree that they planted almost 10 years ago when they started their podcast. So I am grateful and I am super, super happy to be in the house with this young lady right here. I've heard her story told many times. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to truly, truly meet a beautiful person. I mean, not just visually to the eye, but I'm saying just so beautiful. I mean, it goes deep to the soul. I'm talking soul, soul. You know what I mean? So, for those who know, you know, when it comes to the soul, it moves in a manner that you can never control it. So, I'm going to let my sister do her thing, Miss Letitia Lovely, and she's going to kind of walk us through her journey. So, why don't you give a just a brief introduction to the Soul family, who you are, and how did you come to this point here? And then we'll go from there. Okay.
Whew. Yeah, that's definitely a take a breath moment. How did I come to this place? Well, first of all, Yogi G, love and light to you and our viewing audience, whoever's in the mix. I'm so grateful for this opportunity whenever you and I get to chop it up.
Yeah.
Librans that we are, there is a similarity often of experiences or energies that are going on at any given moment. So I'm very appreciative of this moment to converse with
Mhm.
you and with whomever will see this. And whenever you see it, will be the perfect time. So that is a very interesting and deep question, as you know. Yogi G and I participate in a session every Sunday Rising called Radiant Rising Sunday Style. And a couple of weeks ago, that was the focus, the hero's journey. So I've definitely tapped into or revisited that whole concept, Yogi, of what that is, because while being on it, we're so in the hero's journey. And for me, there hasn't been one long hero's journey, there's been a series of different heroes' journeys along different pathways throughout lifetime. So
Right.
I would say, to make what could very well be a long answer somewhat short,
Yes. Yes.
to say what was and is the catalyst of this present hero's journey, which is one of finding self in a different
Hmm.
capacity, of
Okay.
finding
Okay.
self. I would say that this one started like around the 90s, late 80s and 90s, and that began with finding myself outside of religion.
Hmm. Hmm.
Before then, and I didn't even notice it until I began to separate from it, religion had played a large part of who I identified as. And before I even say that, though, I must give a shout out to myself
There
as
you
we're talking
go. There
about
you go.
myself. As we're talking about myself, let me just say that I am an energy alchemist. I am a word wielder, a light worker, and a light wielder. So let me just start there so
Okay.
that the audience understands the kind of energy that I'm bringing into this situation. So I've always been involved in the world of words. I have always had the gifts, although I didn't know that I had them at the time, to be an energy alchemist, to work with the gift of healing, to work with the intuition,
Right.
um,
Right.
coming up through lineages of the indigenous people whose DNA is in my veins, from specifically Mississippi, the Carolinas,
Okay.
Tennessee. So I guess starting there, I have to lay somewhat of a foundation, because then it makes sense what I'm saying now about being steeped in religion,
Hmm.
um, for the early part of my life,
Hmm.
and identifying in that way with religion. And so it was a hero's journey, Miles, to
Yeah.
come out of a paradigm that had so formed and shaped my perspective,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And in searching for myself, having and in questioning that paradigm, in questioning that God, in questioning that narrative, in questioning all that I had been told was irrefutable, unarguable, that was dangerous even to question.
Right.
Um,
Right.
to come out of that, in questioning that, led me into questioning myself, into who I really am. So I began what was and what continues to be a powerful, a
Right. Right. Right.
powerful journey
Hmm.
on discovering the Most High within myself, the divine within myself, the beloved within myself.
Hmm.
And that journey took on many looks, as I was going through it, all within the world of words, as I was discovering
Right.
who I am. And
Okay.
So that's just kind of a very general of what got me
Yeah.
on this particular hero's journey was the discovery that the religion that I had grown up in and that I had been shaped by and that I had held on to for so long was not the authenticity, was not the authentic foundation that I thought it was. And
Okay.
so in discovering that, it led to a whole journey in
Mhm.
discovering myself.
All right, great. That leads me to my first question because I kind of come from a religious background. My grandparents were both they were heavy into church, so they I come from a Christian background. I'll say it like that. They're both two separate denominations, but they were on the same block. But who knows?
Mhm.
Who knows? I'm not here to judge. But no, my parents didn't force my brother and myself to go to church. They gave us the option, saying that, if it's something we wanted to do, to go with the grandparents because they would love and appreciate that. So religion was never forced on me. But for me, I've noticed that because I did take in a little bit of religion, it's helped me actually see what it's not, if that makes sense. So my question to you is, and for the to help the audience understand, is do you believe that having that foundation of religion allowed you to see what you were supposed to see, even though you wasn't supposed to see it, if that makes sense?
Well, very definitely, because as divine beings,
Hmm.
we are tapped in whether we know we're tapped in at not or not.
Right,
So,
right,
and those of us who are, and I really don't kind of rock with this term, but chosen or
right,
who
right,
are
right.
set apart for a specific time as
Oh, they
we
had to
are.
give us the definition so they can make money off of it. But go ahead.
Right, right. And it's not really even about that, but if you know,
Yeah.
you know.
If
If
you
you
know,
know,
you
if
know.
you
Yep.
know, you know. And that's
Yeah.
just what it is
Yeah.
because your life tends to reflect
Right.
who
Right.
you're coming in here
Exactly.
to be. So, what I will say is that in my upbringing, it was different. I did not have a choice,
Hmm.
nor did I feel that there was one that was necessary because of the Southern upbringing. And then I grew up in the Midwest, kind of in that Bible Belt
So it's
energy. You
yeah,
know what I'm
it's
saying?
there. It's all
And
around
then
you.
right, and then steeped into the Southern tradition that
Mhm.
really comes out in the movie Sinners. If anybody
Right.
has seen that movie, the whole Christianity spectrum and the
Mhm.
part it played in Black America, quote unquote, Black America, is
Correct.
very much reflected there. And I very much lived that experience. I very much lived the experience that the religion that I was being taught, the God I was being introduced to, the Jesus that that was being upheld as the epitome of my savior and all of that was something that directly impacted me in a way that allowed me to entertain
Mhm.
a an entity that was greater than and where miracles could happen and things like that. However,
Right.
comma, that entity was presented as something or someone outside of myself.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
the other thing about my experience in Christianity is that there were no choices or no room for really deep, heartfelt, common sense, intellectual discussion
Right. Right. Right.
about an area where there might be a question. It was
Correct.
always taught, like the Bible, for instance, was always taught as the infallible, indestructible, indefensible, blah, blah, blah word of God. So, in other words, don't question it,
Right.
believe it without any, like, even if it goes against your common sense, that's okay, believe it. So, in that sense, Miles,
Yeah.
it definitely later
Mhm.
showed me what not to believe.
Right.
However, because of the brainwashing and the mind control that comes with that tenet that this is right and everything else is wrong, that
Right.
if you don't believe this doctrine in the
Mm.
way it is being taught to you, You
Right.
will, quote, go to hell. You
Mm.
will, quote, be in sin.
It will
You are,
burn.
quote, a Jezebel. There were all of these negative connotations that were put on you if you dared ask a
Mm.
question
Mm.
about what was coming into you. So it was very much, and it is very much, a binding. And that's what the word religion means. The word religion means to bind. And
Okay.
so that type of thought process taught to one from a very early age
Hmm.
literally binds you into a false narrative
There you go.
that then becomes your cage or your prison
Right.
that, in order to find yourself, you must break out of. So yes, answering your question, it did eventually teach me everything. Well, I won't even say it taught me, though.
Hmm.
The most high, the divine
There
source
you
of my higher self actually taught me the truth.
go.
And
Yeah.
from that truth, I could then look at the narrative and know what I'm looking at.
And know exactly what it's there for. It's really not to bind you. It's actually to release you. You know, so it's like we have to understand that part of it. But that is awesome. I like that. Now with like everything that we do, we all like to meditate, and we all have different forms of meditation. And some people like guided meditation, some people like silent meditations, some people like complete blackout. Like, they don't want lights, they don't want a cell phone around them, they don't want anything. Some can stand, some sit for hours, days, and we've heard stories of monks sitting in positions for years on end,
Right?
trying to you know get to this higher self. But in this day and age, we don't have the luxury to go sit up in a mountaintop in a cabin for months on end to find that peace within, or as they say, your higher self. So, what, how has meditation impacted your life as you recognize it now, to how it's connected to everything you're doing?
That's a great question. And even the concept of what meditation is a
Mhm.
great conversation to have.
Right.
I tend to live, I tend to attempt to live my life in meditation, if
Mhm.
that makes any sense,
Yes,
because
it does.
at the basis of it for me,
Hmm.
meditation is simply being mindful,
Yes.
being
Being
full
present.
of what's in my mind, because everything is mental, right? So
Correct.
when I am conscious of that,
Hmm.
I try to live, like, for instance, some of the tenets of living in meditation, or walking in a living meditation, is being present.
Yes.
Something as
Yes.
simple as being present, which is harder than it looks. You
Hmm.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because
It is. It is.
you know,
Yeah.
our
No, it
mind,
is. That's why it takes a very long time to find that point. That point, because it
our
is. It
mind,
really is.
yeah, it's constantly thinking, and there's so many thoughts that aren't even our thoughts. There's a
Right.
stat that was thrown out, I don't know how
Hmm.
real it is, that says we think on average 60,000 thoughts a day. So if you just imagine that, and most of them aren't even our thoughts, there's thoughts that come in from outside stimuli.
Repeated
And
thoughts.
so if you think of it like that,
Hmm.
just the simple act of being mindful, being present, and reminding myself to be present in whatever moment I'm in whatever feeling I'm feeling, in whatever experience I'm having, that
Right.
puts me in a form of meditation. And what it has done for me overall is given me a closer connection with my, quote, self,
Hmm.
capital S, with the divine that lives within me, with the energy of the Akashic record, with the energy of the all that is. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? So that I can see myself not as this individual avatar, which is probably the easiest way we see ourselves in this dimension. It's just kind of
Hmm.
easy to see ourselves as this
Yeah.
being.
Yeah.
but to see myself in a connected in a bigger way. So
Right.
meditation allows me to be mindful, to be
Mhm.
present, and to
Right.
be aware that I'm much more than just my physical body.
Nice. Okay, so with that being said, do you have a morning or an evening ritual? Like for me, I after my family leaves, my wife goes to work, the kids run off to whatever. Well, actually, their jobs now because they're all working. I go and I take an hour meditation before I, really get my day going. I walk the dogs, have my cup of coffee, but after that, I do an hour meditation, and then at night, right before I go to sleep, I do like about 45 minutes to an hour. Sometimes it stretches because I might fall asleep within that meditation. So,
Mm.
I like guided meditations, and that's my expertise field is giving out guided meditation. So, you know,
Yes, it is your expertise, and you are gifted
thank
in
you,
that
thank
area
you.
for sure. Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
So, yeah. So I appreciate that. I really do because it is something that is new to me. I've been gifted to use my voice in that manner. I've always wanted to be a singer, but I really can't compete with the best of them. Like I said, I make the best noise. I can't sing, but I make the best noise. So, being that that's not, the direction that I was supposed to go, I'm assuming that this path has the path that has led me here is the reason why my voice is where it's at this present moment. So, with that, are there any rituals, morning or evening, or even throughout the day? Because sometimes I'll even take a few minutes throughout my day and I'll just stop and I'll take in a four count breath, four count breath,
Mhm.
and then just sit for like 10 minutes or so in silence without speaking or anything. So, how about you? And let our audience know.
Yeah, so I definitely work to start and end my day with the divine.
Mm,
I have a spirit tribe and a group of spirit guides
mhm.
that I tap in with
Right.
um, in the rising. When I first wake up, I have a mantra that I say that kind of sets the tone for the day of everything being beautiful and wonderful and amazing and in divine order.
Beautiful.
And I'm a big proponent of visualization meditation. Um, I am a student of Baba Abdullah,
Okay.
who was the Ethiopian magi from which the new thought, quote unquote, movement came out of.
Okay.
So going back from to your Neville Goddards, your Joseph Murphys, your Wayne Dyers, your that whole
Move.
group of
Yeah.
spiritualists that came up in like the 50s, 60s, 70s, Proctor,
Right.
James Proctor,
Mhm. Right.
even Reverend Michael Beckwith and the Agape Church. Um, all of that new thought teaching, in my opinion, came out of Baba Abdullah, who again was an Ethiopian mystic,
Right. Right.
and I am he is one of my mentors. So I definitely try to start my, and he's a big proponent of the law of assumption and
Mhm.
of the imagination.
Okay.
The teaching of Baba Abdullah is that everything, well, it's basically what they call the Hermetic principles, which
Mhm.
came before Hermit, the Greek name for it, but it's basically the law that all is mental. So knowing that all is mental and that everything that we experience comes out of the mind, whether it's our mind or whether it's somebody else's mind,
Right. Right. Right.
it's what we are
Coming from the
seeing.
mind.
That's right. What we're seeing in the physical is coming from the mind. So that taps me into how powerful our mind is, how powerful my mind is. So visualization is a very big part of my meditation.
Right.
And visualization and imagination are a very big part of my meditation.
Right.
Y'all know I'm a poet, know it rhyme every time. Visualization
Y'all
and
don't know she can
meditation is
rhyme.
a
Y'all, she
heavenly
can
part
rhyme.
of my meditation.
She can think
Visualization
16
and
bars out here. Just
imagination, a
don't.
heavenly
Just
part.
know.
Okay.
Go
I
ahead,
will
Queen. I
drop a
see you.
bar. I will drop a bar in a minute. but that is really how I try to flow in the rising.
Mhm.
And then at night, right before I go to sleep, because it helps to program my subconscious.
Right.
And lately I have been really tapped into an active participation in
Mhm.
my subconscious, because
Right.
along with our imagination, our subconscious is kind of that next level of co-creation
Right.
that helps kick off what's happening in our present reality. So a lot of times we might have ish going on and we're thinking, wait a minute, I'm not thinking this, or in my mind I had a whole other thought process going on. But what has happened without our knowing it is something in our subconscious, which is
Mhm.
stronger than our conscience, has
Right.
created a situation that we're not even aware we've got that energy in, which is why shadow work and
Right.
introspection is so important, to just get in touch with yourself and find out what's going on. And when I do the at night, when I do the visualization, imagination, and just kind of get quiet and tap into myself, it helps me to feel anything that may be something that I don't feel is going to be beneficial, and it
Mhm.
will help me tweak or transmute whatever that energy is, so that I can go into my dream state and go into my lucid dreaming or my astral travel or whatever I'm going to do in those moments that I am not, quote, conscious, that I
Right.
can have a little more uh, input into how
Mhm.
that goes.
Oh, okay. Well, then that actually leads into another question that I have for you. Then, what advice would you give someone who is starting their mindfulness or their hero's journey?
The best advice I could probably give would be, again, another cliche
Mhm.
saying, but it is a cliche for a reason, and that is, to thine own self be true.
Mm. Mm. I like
That's
that.
what I would say. If no matter where you are, whether you're just starting out the hero's journey, whether you're in the middle of the hero's journey, whether you're at the end of one hero's journey and getting ready to start another hero's journey, because there's more than one. Newsflash, breaking news, there's more
You
than
can
one.
do it. Yes.
I would say remain true
Mhm.
to yourself, remain authentic in the experience, no matter what that feels like or looks like, because
Right.
inevitably things are happening for a reason.
Mhm.
This is the planet of lessons. This is a school, we're often told. And so when we
Yes.
keep that at the forefront of our minds, we're able to translate experiences that are happening to us into what the lesson is from that experience.
Oh, what an answer. What an answer. I wish I found you when I started, 'cause that's a question I really wanted to ask. Like, yo, how do we start this again? Like, what am I supposed to
Right.
do here? But, thankfully, and I am so grateful, as well as my spirit team has guided me through this. When you sit back and you trust yourself, it becomes a lot easier to notice the signs and the symbols that your ancestors are speaking to you and have always been speaking to you. So, I mean, and I'm talking living and non-living ancestors, because we do
Mm.
have ancestors that are here that have not transitioned yet. So they are walking amongst you. You just may not know who they are, but their spirit is here to guide you and make sure that you are where you're supposed to be, so you can become who you're supposed to be. So that is beautiful. I mean, outside of, obviously, what the as you say, another cliche is know thyself. So, the more you know yourself, the easier this journey becomes. And it is truly an enlightenment, or an enlightening, as you take this journey, because only thing it does, it just makes the colors brighter. It makes sound
Mm.
sharper. It makes the tastes taste better. Smells are better. I mean, it's just everything. You feel the breeze when it hits your skin. It almost feels like it's in every pore as it's
Yeah.
blowing your body. I think obviously my hair doesn't blow in the wind, but when it does, you know, I can feel the follicles moving. That's when we say you're in that present moment. You feel everything that's going on around you, and sometimes you hear things that are
Mm,
around you. So when you're in that present moment, not only open your eyes, open your ears, open all your senses, and that's how
yeah.
we collect in this energy that our ancestors are just this information that they're passing down to us. Like you had touched base earlier that the meet we have Sunday was that sorry Sunday Rising, Radiant Rising, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you guys want to join in, please check the link. We got it. I'll put the link in the chat. So for
Very
anybody,
cool.
any
Yes.
anybody who's new that's seeing this for the first time and wanting to come in on a Sunday morning, and you just want to get a lovely, lovely, radiant, rising word from the Queen here, and then I step in right after and I give a live guided meditation, and then we walk into a sacred space where people can be safe and speak, about their journeys and what they're going through, and as a community, if we can help, we send out that positive energy and we send out our help and we help each other grow as a community. So with that being said, I do have a couple more questions. We're at 31 minutes on this recording, so I'm not going
I
to hold.
do, if I may, I do
Yeah.
want to just really piggyback on that
Yes, yes,
invitation
please.
and
Yes. We're
really,
highlighting you today, so go ahead. This is your shine, sister shine.
really from the heart, I
Mm,
encourage, especially in this time and in this energy, where community is so impactful and it's so helpful to be
mm,
around like minds. And with
right.
everything that's going on, it can sometimes be a challenge to find that person or that group or that tribe who is on the same wavelength that you are, who are getting the same messages that are not being televised, that are not in the media, that your narrative is totally different from the narrative of everyone around you. Then this is probably your tribe that he's talking about. And we meet, as he said, as Miles said, every Sunday rising. It's called Radiant Rising Sunday Style. And it is every Sunday at 9:30 Eastern Time. The digital doors open at 9:20. And if you
If
can either
you
click
can
on the
either
link
click on the
that will be posted with this build, or you can send an email to Lovely Life TV, Lovely Life LIFE at gmail.com, and I'll put you on the mailing list. It's so important to be a part of a tribe, to be a part of a group, to link up with those who are in the same vibration and frequency as you are. This is not the time to be an island. This is not the time to try to walk along. There are strength and power in numbers, and it is through a collective consciousness that we are making major changes in this earth. Major changes, like even on a cosmic level. We are not playing around in those Sunday meetings, y'all. And
no,
that's why they're not being televised. We thought at one point that we would put them up on YouTube, but because of the information that we're getting, the downloads that we're receiving, the cosmic work that we're doing, we are only we're keeping it private and we're keeping it sacred for those who take time out of their day to invest in themselves and join us. So please do click on the link. It's the same link every Sunday. Click on the link and join us, or
come on in.
send an email to lovelylifetv at gmail.com, and I'll put you on the list and send you the link every week that way. So definitely thank you, my brother. It is a powerful work that is going on during those meetups. And both Miles and I are so grateful to be open conduits and
Yes.
channelers during those moments, during those sessions where I will get a recite and then he will follow it up with the meditation that takes us deeper into whatever the message or the energy or the vibration or the frequency or the assignment that
Mm,
we're being
like
given
that.
in those times. So definitely, definitely tap in.
and it's there for you to feel what you are, what your body is allowing you to feel. So please come in and join us, and positive energy only, please. No negative energy, no spamming. But if you do have a business or you're doing your own personal thing, you can also shoot me an email at Yogi G 24 at I said Yogi G 24 at gmail.com, and then I'll set up an interview with you and we can get you on live and speak about what you are doing and how you are taking on this hero's journey. So, with that being said, sis, I'll see you Sunday morning, 9:33 a.m. Digital doors open at 9:25, so you can come in, listen to a good music, and then we get started with the word of the day on a Sunday, nice and early. So I hope everybody had a good time here, Sister Lovely. It is always a pleasure having conversation with you. As I said, this is the first of many, many, hopefully many podcasts to come, highlighting and giving flowers out to those that are out here doing the work. And a lot of time the work is done behind the scenes. So we're not out here looking for the accolades. We're not out here looking for the fame or anything like that. We just want people to understand where to find your peace at. Your peace, not my peace, not hers or anybody else's, but your own personal peace. So, with that being said, love and light to all. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Ashe and namaste to everyone.
Let's go. We out of here. Have a great night, sis. I'll talk to you a little. We'll talk tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank
All right.
you.
Good night. No, thank you, Queen. Thank you very much. Here we are, y'all. The Abundant Mind with Yogi G, and I'm Yogi G.